is Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. The Maryland primary is behind us. We are now looking forward to the next big election in Maryland, the election for mayor of Frostburg, Maryland, home of the Frostburg University. The candidate for mayor there, a non-partisan race, is Todd Logsdon, lifelong resident of Frostburg. Welcome to our show, and our guests tonight, our hosts tonight are Mark Uckfer and Jackie Saxton. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, Dwight. I'm particularly excited about this one because I'm always excited when we have young Republicans running for office. So I'm very happy to have Todd on. And yeah, we're going to start off by talking about your mayoral campaign and see how that is going.
Great. Well, thank you guys for having me, Jackie and Mark, and Dwight. Thanks for having me on. My name is Todd Logsdon. I am a lifelong resident of Frostburg, way up in western Allegheny County in western Maryland. And I am a candidate to become the 65th mayor of the city of Frostburg. Like I said, I've lived here my whole life. My wife and I, Nikki, we've lived here our whole lives. I am very passionate about community, about economic growth. I'm very passionate about education. Being a teacher, my wife and I are both teachers. We're very interested in education. It is definitely the key to not only economic success, but to success in other areas of life. We're very fortunate in Frostburg to be the home of Frostburg State University, which we do a really good job here in town of partnering with the university to support economic growth, to support recreation, to support tourism, to support other local businesses in town. And I'm looking forward to continuing that long tradition.
So tell me, what are the big issues in your race, and how do you think you can make a difference as mayor?
So a few of the big issues in the race in Western Maryland generally, we have suffered from a very long and very continuous economic decline, but also population decline. The population of Western Maryland continues to go down, which it has for decades, and it's a result of post-industrialism. Western Maryland is a very, 50, 60 years ago, was a very industrialized Midwestern style area. And just as the 21st century has progressed, the old style industries have gone out, and we haven't found our new niche yet. So some of the challenges that face us are access to modern technology, broadband internet. We've been trying to have broadband access for 25 years, and it gets kicked around. Federal representatives kick it to the states kick it to the utility companies, and it just gets kicked around. One of the specific issues that faces our town is adequate police and first responder services. So as of a month ago, the city of Frostburg employs 9 uniformed police officers. According to the FBI crime data statistics, a town that is our size, we have about 8,000 permanent residents in our town, plus another 4,200 students. We should employ anywhere between 16 and 20 police officers. Right now, we're only at 9. Part of that is lack of funding. Part of that is our police officers just aren't paid adequately compared to other law enforcement agencies in the area. So that's one thing that I want us to look at, is finding the funding, finding a way to support our men and women in blue that protect our community, to hopefully retain officers and build a police force that can keep our city safe.
So how, as mayor, would you be able to address those issues?
So some of the things that I think we don't do as good a job as we could are in our area, in Frostburg, but also in municipalities generally, is working with other municipalities in our county, working with county government to kind of find better ways to spend money. I don't want to say that the city spends too much money. I mean, I don't think that that's the case. But I think that sometimes we're not as wise with how we spend our money. Part of that too is, like I said, a declining tax base, and the way that gets solved is to promote real economic growth. One of the things that we are very big on in Western Maryland is tourism. Right, we're Maryland's playground, which is awesome, and we love that. And tourism is a great industry that brings a lot of money in. But tourism, I don't believe, is an industry that will solve our number one problem, which is the population crisis. right? So we've got tons of natural resources here. We've got tons of natural beauty here. People come to on the Great Allegheny Passage. People come to see the Steno Canal, the Western Maryland Seas Railroad, all of our beautiful state parks that we have. People come here for, a day or for the weekend and spend money here, and they see what we have to offer. But there's not a lot here to encourage people to come and stay permanently. And again, that goes back to things like broadband access. We saw during COVID, a lot of people realized that they could telework, right? People that live closer to the city started to think things like, well, maybe I don't need to have my 3-bedroom house on a quarter-acre land in Rockville that's $900,000. Maybe I can look in Allegheny County and buy that exact same house for $200,000, and I keep my same job. All of a sudden, my dollar goes a lot further, and that's something that we would like to encourage people certainly to look at. But again, if we're going to encourage that, we have to have something to offer. We have to be able to offer modern amenities that people like that expect. And the same with businesses too. I mean, we're fortunate. One of our biggest employers in the area technically is located in West Virginia. It's Allegheny Ballistics Laboratory, which is a branch of Northrop Grumman. It's like I said, it's technically in West Virginia, but you can see it from here. And then a lot of people that live in Allegheny County work there. And we're fortunate to have that as a federal employer or a federal contractor. But that's it, really. I mean, we don't. It's kind of a chicken and the egg thing, right? Like you need the industry, the modern industries that want to locate the place need to have infrastructure and they need to have a workforce there. But we're not going to build the infrastructure and we're not going to have the people here if there's nothing to keep them here. One of the things that I say all the time as a teacher, I see students that come through our school system and go off to college, maybe they go to UMD or they go to wherever, get a good degree in something like computer science, let's say. And you come out of the University of Maryland with a computer science degree. You're going to come back home to Frostburg and work for, the university or work for a local tech company here managing websites, make $60,000, $65,000, or are you going to move somewhere and make $200,000 to work for Google? I mean, that's a no-brainer, and we see that happen all the time.
So I would assume one of the major employers in the area is the state university.
Yeah, so I would say as far as government employment, our two biggest employers in the area are Frostburg State University and the Maryland prison system. We do have two state prisons and actually one federal prison, all located in Cumberland. And they do offer, steady, good government employment. But as far as private sector employment, big private sector employment outside of Northrop Grumman, I mean, we have a couple of, we have a few, I would say, medium-sized industrial endeavors. We have, FedEx has a sorting facility. We have a company called Webster Run that sells, restaurant supplies to places. We have several blue-collar type employers, I would say, that employ 100 to 200 people each. But we're struggling to really find our niche. And that's something that, again, throughout our history, we've had companies here, blue-collar industrial work that employ thousands and thousands of people that have just dried up. And part of that's, modernization. We just don't, as a country, we just don't have that anymore. But we haven't really found our niche yet in Western Maryland. And that's one thing I want us to really continue to pursue.
When I think of Western Maryland and potential industries to move in there, my brain immediately goes to energy. But then, of course, you go into arguing with the very liberal state government that we have when it comes to fracking. And is there a potential opportunity there with a considerable enough government that they're willing to listen to what you guys have to say and the economic growth opportunity that would come with that?
I mean, I would say that there is potential for that. As far as support, obviously we know the Maryland state government is not in support of anything like fracking. And I would truly say in Western Maryland, and the only places that are the economic potential for fracking is work that would be in Garrett County and in the western part of Allegheny County, and Frostburg would be included in that. But even so, I'm not certain that there's overwhelming support for fracking in the area. I would say the majority, but probably not overwhelmingly so. But it's certainly, again, it's something that's certainly worth pursuing, and it would be a huge economic boost to the area. Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So talk about a little bit about, you mentioned police services. What are the services that the city provides?
So the city of Frostburg provides almost, I would say we are 90% of a full service municipality. So the city has a Parks and Rec department. We have 16 parks within our municipal borders, including, playgrounds and ball fields and the city pool and various facilities like that. We have street and sanitation departments that collect trash and recycling. Our fire service in Frostburg is actually volunteer, which is the case with almost all of Western Maryland. The city of Cumberland has a full professional fire service, but everywhere else has volunteer services. So we are staffed again by a very good volunteer fire service. Full disclosure, I'm an active member in good standing of the Frostburg Fire Department. We provide, we have full economic development. What else? Public works, sewer, sanitation. Pretty much your run-of-the-mill municipal services.
So, as a candidate, you have been victim to something that's becoming an increasing trend I've seen across several campaigns, which is having your signs vandalized or cut down in your case. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like and what any response has been from your opponent?
So, I full disclosure, I am not suggesting in any way, nor do I believe that my opponent in the race had anything to do with the vandalism that occurred on some of my signs or some of the things that have occurred. I do not believe, nor am I accusing or intimating in any way that my opponent in the race had anything to do with that. I find it amusing more so than anything else. I will say that it has been quite a long time since there has been change in the elected officials in our city. So I think that if the message of new blood or change is getting out there, and if it's starting to make people notice or make people think about something, then I think that's a good thing.
So what day is your race? It's coming up, right?
So election day is June 4th. Frostburg is a little different in how we do our municipal elections. Our elections are separate from the Maryland state system, so there's no primary in general. It's just a one-stop shop for elections. We're also different in that the city of Frostburg conducts our elections 100% through the mail. So during the COVID-19 crisis, our city government elected to change our election process to completely pull it by mail. So ballots were sent out to all registered city voters 2-3 weeks ago. They have been received, as far as I'm aware, by all city residents. We have a method, to make sure that people can get their ballots, and they can be either returned in the mail or they can be filled out and dropped off in person. So we have an in-person ballot collection site at the police station. So June 4th is the final day to turn ballots in, and then they will be counted on June 5th.
So before we shift over to talk about your other role politically, can you talk about, in your view, what the importance is of municipal races? Because it's something I think a lot of people overlook, especially in a year like this where you got President, Congress, Senate. There's over 300 municipal races this year.
Oh, for sure. Municipal government is very important, and a lot of people would say it is the most important to folks because it is the one that most directly affects your everyday life. Even though a lot of folks maybe don't know how municipal government works, maybe they don't know who their municipal government officials are, you definitely notice your city government at work, and you definitely notice when your city government doesn't work. So, if, for example, at the federal level, if we end up in a war, with another country, that's something that people will know about, and it definitely affects our lives. But if interest rates went up 0.25% on fixed rate loans, or the thing that the federal government deals with, a lot of that goes unnoticed. If your track didn't get picked up today, you're going to notice that. If you got a parking ticket for parking on Main Street and you paid the meter, but the meter maid didn't notice it, that's something that you're going to be affected by, right? Municipal government affects your everyday life a lot more so than higher level government does.
Yeah. So ringing endorsement for running for local office.
Absolutely.
So, pivoting over, another one of your titles is that you are the chairman of the Allegheny County Central Committee.
I am.
Which I'm sure is an incredibly frustrating but also rewarding position at the same time. So can you talk a little bit about what the Central Committee has been doing in preparation for this year's bigger elections as well?
Sure. So the Central Committee, as is the case in every county, we serve as sort of a liaison during the primary elections. I would say we serve as sort of a liaison between candidates and citizenry, and we as sort of advisors, I guess you could say. Of course, Central Committees don't do work for candidates. They are not supposed to endorse candidates in primaries, but we're in touch with a lot of the candidates, so we know each other. And now that has gone, now that the primary election is gone, and what our nominees are, from now until November, our Central Committee will be working nonstop to beat the street for every Republican nominee from every office to make sure that we elect as many Republicans as possible. And whether that's through fundraising, whether that is through voter contact, whether that is through local media action, whatever it takes, the Central Committee exists to be the mouthpiece of the party and exists to help our candidates get into office.
So one of the big races nationally is really front and center in Western Maryland and parts of Montgomery County, and that's Congressional District 6.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts, any handicapping you have for that race?
So I think we are very fortunate to have the candidate that we have in District 6, Neil Parrott. He's been our nominee in the last 2 elections. Of course, he's not yet been victorious, running against David Trone Incorporated. However, David Trone Incorporated, as we know, lost his primary election for Senate, but he is now a lame duck for the duration of his term. And we're very fortunate in District 6 to have a candidate who has already been vetted in the last 2 elections that he's ran in, who is articulate, who knows the area. Neil shows up to every event that every group has. He shows up to every garden party, to every town council meeting, to every, as Nicole Bennett would say, every chicken dinner that we have. He's there. He knows our community. He is a good, God-fearing man, and the people of District 6 know him. I cannot wait to shake his hand on election night and call him Congressman-elect Parrott.
It definitely is unique. You know, it definitely seems like the stars were aligned this time. It's an open seat, and whereas it seemed last cycle the top of the ticket might not have been coattails to ride on, this year you have the unique situation of having Larry Hogan on the ballot as well. So in a district as diverse as District 6, which starts where I live and goes all the way out to Garrett County, and you have like just the urbanites all the way out to the mountain folk, what do you think Larry Hogan also being on the ticket is going to do with regards to this race? Because I would say the people voting out in Gaithersburg have very different mindset than people voting in Frostburg.
Oh, certainly. I would say that too. And I think, again, though, I think that it's fortunate that we have Larry Hogan as our nominee, as somebody who carries name recognition, who carries a record, a successful record of being able to achieve a lot. I mean, as far as a Republican elected governor in heavily, heavily Democratic Maryland state government, I think he carries a fairly successful record. And hopefully that he's able to articulate that and translate that into a federal level. You know, I think it helps as far as Republican turnout. I think it helps that it's also a presidential election year, so people are going to turn out to vote for President Trump, to re-elect President Trump. And while people are there, people are going to see names that they recognize. These are names that they have seen on the ballot before. These are people that they trust. These are people that they know. And they're going to check the box for Hogan, and they're going to check the box for Neil Parrott, and they're going to check every Republican box all the way down.
So sticking with the Senate race for a second, you know, Frostburg and Allegheny County as a whole is a very red county. And there was some concern with Larry Hogan on the ballot that he might not be red enough. Is there a concern there that there are people in your county who are like, not doing it for me? Oh,
for sure. Oh, I've talked to 2 or 3 people today that give the old line of, I'm not voting for Hogan. He might as well be a Democrat. And it's just not true. I mean, my prediction is, and I've said at most 10 words to Governor Hogan in my entire life. He wouldn't know who I was if you told him who I was. I know I'm not in any way trying to speak for him. But my suspicion is that if Governor Hogan is able to get elected to go to Washington, I think that he will have the support that he needs, and I think that he will have the gumption that he needs to be more conservative than he was in Annapolis. I mean, working as a Republican governor in a very blue state, there's only so much that can be done, especially when you have a veto-proof majority in your legislature. That won't be the case in Washington. Hopefully, if the Republicans get majority control of the Senate, but even if they don't, I mean, there's enough Republican support in Washington that the governor will have the support he needs to be a good conservative Republican. And it's the Reagan rule. We've said this 5,000 times. Everybody knows the Reagan rule. Somebody that's 80% with you and 20% against you is not your enemy. They are your friend.
And it's interesting since there is substantial speculation that with states like West Virginia likely to flip, that the prospects for a Republican majority are pretty strong. That Maryland may well be better served by having a Republican as part of that majority to bring home the bacon, so to speak, and to stick up for the states for a number of the issues that are obviously near and dear to the state.
Absolutely. And I think, it goes to speak with, we talked about this at the GOP convention last weekend. The very first vote that Senator Hogan is going to give when he's in the Senate is for majority leader. And that's the most important thing, because that's who is going to control the United States Senate. So we need that.
So you guys have a Lincoln dinner coming up, or as Nicole puts it, it's a chicken dinner. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We do, sure. So on Thursday, June the 20th, let me make sure that's right. Yes, Thursday, June the 20th at 6 o'clock will be the Allegheny County Lincoln Day dinner. It is our number one biggest fundraising event, biggest outreach event that we do of the year. It will be at 6 o'clock at the Algon Shrine Club, which is in Cumberland. Tickets are $65. We also have a discounted rate if anyone's interested in having a table of 8 for $475. Our guest speaker that night will be former Governor Bob Early, who's super popular in Maryland GOP, and also especially Western Maryland. Governor Ehrlich, walks on water in Western Maryland. We love him, so he's going to be out here talking about what we need to do to win in 2024. He also wrote a book. He wrote a new book, so he's going to be pitching that. And as a special incentive, if anybody's interested in coming, if you can put 8 people together and reserve yourself a table, your reserved table of 8 ticket will come with a signed copy of Governor Ehrlich's book. So we are excited to have him. We are excited to be getting out there and be working all summer and all fall to get Republicans elected.
The challenge he has for that book is that it has the list of reasons why Biden, why not to reelect Biden. And the problem is he keeps having to add new reasons. It's like a moving target for him to do that. So even if you got the book a couple of weeks ago, you got to get the new edition to pick up.
Right. Well, and I think by the time we get to November, I think it'll be 1,001 reasons instead of 100.
He can make a Twitter page and just have an ongoing new reasons, addendums to the book just on the internet. Trying to think what else I can ask you.
Well, we're talking about the Central Committee and what are some of the other priorities? We talked about the Senate race, obviously the congressional race, and what is the prospect? What is your school board situation like?
So we are very fortunate in Allegheny County to have a strong conservative school board. Out of our 5 members that are on our elected school board, 2 of them actually also serve on our Republican Central Committee. So we are fortunate in that, and we're fortunate to have a good, strong school board that really looks out for our kids and really looks out for our parents, and truthfully even looks out for the employees. And my day job, how I get my paycheck, I am a public school teacher. I teach American history and government at Mountain Ridge High School in Frostburg, and I, for one, love our school board. They look out for their employees. I've never had, an issue that wasn't solved. I can get on the phone with somebody and something's solved, immediately. They look out for us. We're very fortunate.
So I don't think there's anyone who's thinking Maryland is in play from the presidential race perspective. But looking at the broader picture in the rest of the country, what is your take? Every day I look at the polls, I just ask myself, I'm like, how can anyone vote for Biden? The man is a walking corpse. So do you have, I was reading a new poll today that shows Biden's lead in New York is in the single digits now. So what is your prediction on how that race is going to go?
I mean, I think it's looking good at this point for Donald Trump to pull off something that hasn't happened in over 130 years, and that is to be reelected to a second non-consecutive term. I think it's looking really good. And we know in Western Maryland, we're close to a lot of other states, so I spend a fair amount of time in Pennsylvania. I know a lot of folks that live in Pennsylvania, and it's looking really good for President Trump. And even Virginia, West Virginia, I would say, is in the bag for Trump, but even Virginia. There are a lot of people who are heeding, again, Ronald Reagan's question from all those years ago, are you better off now than you are 4 years ago? And there are a lot of people who are answering no to that question.
Yes, by all accounts. I mean, obviously, Pennsylvania has been one of the pivot states, and many of us from Maryland have gone to Pennsylvania. But while Virginia had not been a swing state as much in recent elections, it sounds like it is very much in play now.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I think there's a lot of states that aren't normally in play that will be in play this year. Pennsylvania for sure. Other Midwestern states, even places like Michigan, and the map has definitely changed in our favor.
Hey, Dwight was sending us a side message. Are you a Trump delegate? You're going to Milwaukee?
I'm not.
No, I didn't think so. I was like, I would know about that. Yeah, so as we come to the conclusion of the show, we like to plug Mastoni's Italian restaurant, which I don't know if you were at the executive committee meeting we had there, but it's very good. So if you guys ever make it off the mountain and you are out by Baltimore City, Baltimore County, definitely go out and try it. It's very good.
Cool.
It's a long ways from where you are.
Some would say worth the drive.
It's probably worth the drive, but it's probably a long drive. I'm just guessing.
It's an overnight experience.
We'll make a weekend out of it. That's fine.
It's worth,
there you go. And I'm sure that those in Baltimore County would love to see, as much as you guys promote tourism, I'm sure there's tourist opportunities in Baltimore County as well.
Absolutely.
Let's see. What else, Mark, do we have to plug across the state? I know the state party has the Red, White, and Blue dinner coming up with Senator Joni Ernst, and that is, Dwight, June 19th, right?
Yes, June 19th, federal holiday, so,
So you can make a back-to-back. You go to the Red, White, and Blue dinner, and then you go out to Allegheny County, and you go to the Lincoln dinner the next day.
You can get in the spirit of now you don't have to have chicken. I don't know. Do you have chicken? Have you done the menu yet?
I think we have done the menu, and I think you're actually going to have your choice. It's going to be a roast beef or salmon.
The roast beef was very good last year.
Uh-huh.
Highly recommend. And they have pie. Pie is great.
Yes.
So let's see. Anything? Oh, I'm going to put on my YR hat. Our convention is coming up June 22nd in St. Mary's County. It's also going to be our community day of service. We'll be going to the Charlotte Hall Veterans Home and spending some time with the residents there. So probably the cheapest ticket to any event you'll ever go to in the state. It is $10. So use all that on gas and come out and visit us in St. Mary's County. We have a great event planned out there. And our crab feast is coming up soon. We're still playing around with dates. I think now we're tentatively looking at September 7th. So lots of exciting things happening on the YR end. All right.
Todd, if you had pizza there, I'd fly into Pittsburgh and come to your dinner if you had pizza there.
You would fly to Pittsburgh and then drive instead of just driving from here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would.
Well, we could be, Jackie, we could be provocative and ask for what baseball team do people in Frostburg?
He's trying to win a race. He's not allowed to be. No controversial questions.
No. We won't put you on the spot with that one.
Oh no, I'm a huge O's fan. I'm not afraid to say that.
Okay, there you go.
They're having
Orioles magic.
That's exactly right.
So
Ruben
with that,
Splash.
we will call it a night, and we will see you all next week with another guest. And have
Thank
a
you
great
guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Great.
Okay, we're clear.
Cool. He's gone.
Crimson Maryland. I have that domain, crimsonmaryland.com.
What is it?
Crimsonmaryland.com.
Crimson Maryland. Oh God, that would drive Brian up the wall.
No, he's fine with that.
Maryland. We're
Okay.
not Red Maryland. We're Crimson Maryland.
He's
I gotta
fine with
go
that,
because the
actually.
Survivor finale starts in 60 seconds.
He's fine with it, actually, though. Crimson, Maryland.
Crimson Maryland?
Yeah, I spoke with him about this a couple years ago when I actually got that domain. He says he's fine with it, because this is like when he became Duckpin.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, so you went out and got Crimson?
Yeah, I got Crimson years ago, actually.
Now, that is great.
To play on Crimson Tide.
Well, no, Crimson, the other Crimson is, of course, Harvard.
Yeah. And Crimson is a darker red, so.
Right. It's a darker red. Yeah, no, I like that.
It's darker than Red Maryland. Red Maryland. Those moderates. We're Crimson. We're even darker. We're even redder than them.
But there's also a little subtlety. So
Yeah.
that really is an interesting angle. I like
I'll
that.
double check with Brian, but I don't think he's going to have a problem with it.
Crimson Maryland. I like it.
Yeah. And I've already owned the domain. I also own News Talk Politics now, too.
Now, here, because frankly, the Red Maryland, the reason I like it is it kind of tells you what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Crimson, so I'll have James start working on some stuff for there. And I'll have Linda work on a graphic for Crimson Maryland.
Now, we probably want to figure out how much of now, first of all, I don't know, can we get the subscriber list from for the duck pin?
Maybe.
Oh, by the way, are we still taping?
Oh,
Shit.